Hi, in this video I'm going to discuss the recent Imprint release from Australia of the TV series Department S. Now, in discussing this release, which I'd highly recommend, I'm going to discuss a little bit about the program itself, and also I'm going to talk about an earlier version of the series, which was released in DVD also in Australia. So this edition, the new version, is a Blu Ray set, so it's in high definition, and as I've said, it's from the Australian label Imprint. And one of the, I think, the real talent of Imprint is that they do excellent packaging, excellent boxes. They combine the best versions that are available of TV series or films, put them on disc, and also borrow extras from previous editions of these series, because Department S, for example, has been released a number of times in the UK, in Australia, in the United States. So there's quite a lot of material that's already there, and also some of the extra material would be very difficult to duplicate, simply because some of the, a lot of the people involved in producing, directing, writing, or acting in these series from the 1960s are sadly no longer with us. So this box borrows some of the extras from previous editions from other countries. It borrows the fantastic print transfers that were done by the British Label Network, which is sadly no longer with us. But it also adds a number of excellent extras which have never been seen anywhere before. So I want to say just a little bit before about the series. If you're not familiar with this TV series, I imagine a lot of the market for this Blu-ray set will be people like myself who grew up with the program. I remember seeing the first episode, which I think was the Pied Piper of Hambledown. That was the first one shown in Scottish television, I believe, the region of the UK that I was growing up in. I imagine in some other regions, ITV regions, perhaps a different episode started the run. However, it was really exciting seeing this first episode. I think it was shown on a Friday evening. I watched it with my mum, who used to enjoy watching a lot of these TV programs with me. Department S was produced by ITC Entertainment, which was a subsidiary of ATV, the company which had the ITV franchise for the Midlands in the UK. ATV had a very global perspective. They weren't interested in just making television for the UK. They had a global reach in terms of distributing their programs, and real global ambitions in terms of TV production and later feature film production also. So the approach of ATV and ITC, their subsidiary, was very much to do TV programs that would appeal to an international audience rather than just a British one. So to get round the differences in video formats and also for better production values, their programs were produced usually on 35mm film, which has the great advantage now that you can actually get a high definition image from 35mm negatives. So the film quality was so good that was used in these programs that you can, if you have very skilled restorers, which fortunately these programs have been able to access, then you can have superb quality reproduction of these programs such that they look like they could have been filmed yesterday. The picture quality is just so good. So there was a previous version of Department S, which I have, which I'm keeping even though I have the Blu-ray edition, and that was the excellent issue by Umbrella DVD, another great Australian label for TV programs and movies. You know, I've got a lot of Australian DVDs and Blu-rays because the companies Umbrella and Imprint via Vision, you know, just do such a good job on their releases. So this earlier version of Department S, which my wife bought me and we enjoyed watching them together, I introduced her to a lot of these TV programs, has itself some superb extra features. It's worth, even though, you know, some of the extras on this have been transferred to the Imprint Blu-ray, I still think it's a beautiful box set to have. Highlights from this were an audio commentary and an introduction to an episode by Department S star Peter Wyngarde, which is something of a feat in itself, and it's thanks to Jazz Wiseman, who interviewed him for this disc set. Peter Wyngarde was a very temperamental actor, you could say, who interviewers and people found very difficult to engage with. And I think that Jazz Wiseman pulled off something spectacular, getting him to do these commentaries, which are really interesting and insightful. He's a fascinating actor to hear speaking about his work. And that's a real highlight of this box set, quite apart from the fact that it's beautifully packaged. So these interviews have been ported onto this Imprint Blu-ray release, plus a number of other extras. So just if you don't know anything about Department S, it's a kind of detective spy type program. The three leads in Department S work for a special department within Interpol, which is called Department S. And the stars are Joe Fabiani, an American. He was a newcomer, and he was selected from, I think, an appearance in a cigarette magazine advert. Rosemary Nichols, British actress. Peter Wyngarde, who kind of steals the show, chews the scenery a bit with his sort of unique, flamboyant personality and flamboyant dress sense. And also an actor called Dennis Alaba Peters, who plays their kind of Oxbridge educated handler. So the three operatives, Stuart Sullivan, played by Joe Fabiani, Annabelle Hurst, played by Rosemary Nichols, and Jason King, played by Peter Wyngarde, all work for Sir Curtis Seretse, who's this kind of diplomat, civil servant type person who works for Interpol, you know, and you assume he's also part of British intelligence. Dennis Alaba Peters, the actor himself, was actually Oxbridge educated. He was somebody who had done reporting, documentary reporting for the BBC before starring in this program. The series is quite progressive in many ways with its casting, because Rosemary Nichols, the female of the three agents, is a computer expert. So we have a female character in the 60s who's not there to scream and stuff. She's actually very intelligent, operative. And we have the manager of the team is a black, played by a black actor, and apparently that was the first time that, you know, according to some newspaper reports, that a black character had been in charge in a program at that time. So, you know, this is a kind of feature of a lot of ITC series that were very much ahead of its time. The program has a lot of international locations. It's very glamorous. They might be in New York or well, actually, I don't think they did New York. They tend to go for locations that aren't in the United States. I think possibly because US viewers wouldn't find them convincing, because a lot of the locations, well, in fact, most of the locations are not done by having new location filming with the actors. They usually use some stock footage to sort of set the scene, and then most of the interiors are just shot in the studio. But, you know, people were a bit more easily convinced in these days, and the program looks incredibly glossy and glamorous. So let's have a look at what's actually in this box. So we have 3 Blu Ray cases. This is the first one, second one, and third one. And so between these 3 cases, we have all 28 episodes of the series. It didn't run to a second series. Instead of another series of Department S, they filmed a new series called Jason King, which just features the Jason King character. So the Jason King character in this series was a kind of, was a writer, a sort of thriller writer, and he was part of the team because what he brought to the team was his imagination, which enabled them to deal with the very unusual cases which this department dealt with. So the idea was at the beginning of every episode you had a kind of teaser where there would be something really unusual would happen. So there was one episode, for instance, where some doctors are doing an operation on someone and some other people barge in and take over the operation at gunpoint and complete this operation on this person. And the mystery is, well, why would people disrupt a medical operation and then do a really good operation on the person? Surely normally if you're going to disrupt a medical procedure, you'd be trying to sabotage it or something like that. So that's a mysterious happening. Another episode starts with a plane load of people who land and find out that they've been lost for 7 days. So why did the plane disappear? What happened in that time? That's what the mystery is. So it's a really enjoyable, fast-paced series. This Blu-ray set has a number of new extras. I'm just going to read them out. So there's basically, we've got the commentaries already with Peter Wyngarde, but we've got new commentaries by experts, new input really by experts, Jazz Wiseman and Al Smudge, or Smudge as is known, who are ITC experts and do an excellent podcast, ITC Entertain the World, which is very much worth looking out for. We've got commentary contributions from Ken Baker, who was a director, Leslie Darbon, one of the writers, ITC historians Jonathan Wood and Rick Davey. I think Jonathan Wood probably did the restoration on this. He's done that on a lot of ITC programs, and also famous film critic Kim Newman and BFI, British Film Institute consultant Dick Fiddy. Also there's an interview with assistant editor John Inglis. There's an interview with continuity person Janice Biles, and a few other extras. There's also, as a special treat, on the third disc, there's a special Jason King disc, which has 3 episodes of the follow-up season Jason King restored in high definition. Now, don't expect the same degree of quality on that as Department S, because Jason King was filmed on quite grainy 16mm film, which is quite atmospheric, but it's not possible to get as high resolution as a picture. But these episodes are certainly looking the best they've ever looked, certainly better than they've been in DVD release before. There's a lot of skepticism about whether Jason King will ever be issued on Blu-ray in high definition. I hope the series is, and I hope that this release whets people's appetite to release the whole series in this format. So if you're nostalgic about this series, I would definitely recommend this Imprint box set. Another edition is a hardcover book, which has a historical perspective by TV historian Andrew Pixley. So he does quite a long essay about Department S. And there's also episode guide to each episode with cast lists, and there's two photo and also synopsis of the episodes, and a few amusing photographs. That's Peter Wyngarde in a spacesuit, and there's two large photos for every episode. There's also items which I think are from Jazz Wiseman's ITC archive, which are things like the ITC publicity material, the publicity book, some signed copies of scripts from the series. There's other material like the covers for 8mm film releases. So it's amazing that in this day and age we're looking at high definition Blu-ray releases of these programs. Back in the day in the 60s, the best you'd get would be about 10 or 20 minutes on a Super 8 movie. But it's great seeing these things reproduced. There's material from the original ITC press book for the series. Really, this is just an absolutely beautiful, amazing set. The picture quality is just absolutely astronomically fantastic, as it was in the network release, which this takes its prints from. And if you have any fondness for this program, or even if you just like things from the kind of slightly psychedelic era of the UK, then I think there's a lot to recommend this box set. It's a limited edition. There's only 1,500 copies. So if you're really interested in this, I would recommend that you order it either from an eBay seller or directly from Imprint, Imprint Television itself in Australia. So, full marks to the Australians for this. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's something which, if you like this series, you'll really treasure. So thanks for listening. By the way, if you've got this far, please click the like button. I never understand why only a tiny proportion of people who watch videos online click the like button. Unless I hate the video, I always click the like button. That means that more people will see the video. It'll go up higher in the algorithm, and it's this isn't monetized. I don't make any money out of these videos. I'm just doing this to share my enthusiasm for these programs with other people. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave a comment if you like. Tell me what your recollections are of the program. Tell me if you're interested in buying this box set from Australia, or tell me what sets you have of the series and why you enjoy it. And hope you have a good rest of the day. So thank you very much for listening.